Doop, doop, doo, 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 boo, doo. All right, welcome to Every Second Matters for June 2018. This is the legislative update. This is where I update everything that's been introduced, voted on, passed, failed, signed, vetoed, whatever else, state and federal level. Actually, not too much this month, so let's just go ahead and dig right in. Going, from oldest to newest. And so we start out with some good news, and then there's part two, which is not good news. But part one, over in Oklahoma on May 19th, constitutional carry passed the legislation and got sent over to the governor's desk. So that's good news. Looks like it was. Oh, I was trying to find the total. Sorry, I don't know. I was going to skip. Anyways, it passed. I don't know by how much. That's a good thing. Part two, it ended up getting vetoed later in the month. And basically, the governor came up with the, what they normally say. Oh, we need to have trained people and background checks and blah, blah, blah. You can't just let any old person carry because then, bad guys will carry and the police won't have anything to do. It's like, no, it's still against the rules for bad guys to carry. So you could still get the bad guys in trouble. But whatever. So it's good news that they're trying, good news that it passed, and bad news that it got vetoed. But that's happened in some of the other states. As of right now, there are, I believe, 12 states that have constitutional carry, and I think that number is going to keep growing and growing. I know Missouri went through this last year, the year before. They passed constitutional carry. The governor vetoed it, and then they had enough people to override the veto. I'm not sure if Oklahoma has that same majority that they could bring it back, but they might just be able to introduce it, next session, pass it again, and maybe if they keep passing it, eventually it'll get signed. All right, so, oh yeah, this one's kind of, it's not as big of a deal. It's over in Iowa. As of May 9th, there was going to be a vote about doing some hunting restrictions. Basically, let's see, they wanted to put a restriction on handguns that can be used for hunting, limit the number of cartridges to, I think it was like 8 or 9 in a handgun. But one of the things I found odd was that one of the changes, they would prohibit hunting deer with a handgun were equipped with accessories that could potentially allow them to be fired from the shoulder. So basically, I guess if you have an AR handgun and then you have some type of stabilizing brace, you would not be allowed to use that for hunting. And this article rightly points out that's dumb because the accessory doesn't change anything about muzzle velocity, energy, anything about the bullet characteristics. And in fact, they tend to make it more stable to hunt with. I mean, the brace is supposed to make it easier to fire a handgun. And if you're hunting, you would want a stable platform anyways, because you're more likely to get, a good shot and have a humane kill. So I don't know why they're making it harder to hunt with handguns and why they care about, basically braces or I think there's some other stuff. Well, obviously the cartridge capacity, but there might be some other restrictions as well. But again, I don't know. That vote happened earlier in May, and I don't see a follow-up to that, so I'm not sure what happened. If you're in Iowa and you know what happened with the hunting handguns, leave a comment. Let me know. Update everybody. Checking over here. I hope my mic's working good. No one's given me feedback yet, but I have had problems with it in the past. Hopefully it's doing good. All right, over to Louisiana. Got a couple of pro-gun legislation going to the governor. So that's cool. Let's see, what do we have? House Bill 602 and Senate Bill 402. House Bill 602 would allow concealed carry handgun permit holders to carry concealed within 1,000 feet of any school campus. So I guess that's the restriction as of right now, is you can't get within 1,000 feet, and that would allow that. It would get rid of that restriction. So that's cool. That's a pro-gun thing. And then Senate Bill 402 would allow both volunteers with valid concealed carry permits to serve for churches or house of worship as armed security. So basically, that there's probably another restriction for you can't carry in a house of worship that says as long as you're, a valid concealed carry permit holder, then you can volunteer as armed security. So that's in Louisiana, and that went to the governor's desk on May 21st. Wow, we're already mostly through the month there. So I don't know if they've had a chance to sign it yet or not, or veto it, which I hope they don't. All right, over to Massachusetts. Anti-Second Amendment bill rolled into committee substitute. What do we got here? House Bill 4517 and substitute 3610. Let's see, would allow a very broad definition of family or household to petition. Okay, so this is all right, the gun protection order thing, but they're putting in a substitute that makes it even less restrictive on who can ask the court basically to take away your guns without due process. And then what's this? 4517 would subject to stun guns to the same license requirement as handguns. So they basically would add stun guns. So you have to have a concealed carry permit to carry a stun gun if H 4517 passes. But anyways, that's still in the committee. So we got some time to call your peoples, figure out who's voting on the committee, and then if not, if it does get out to the general floor, make sure you call your people and tell them not to vote for these bills with the new substitutions in them. Oh man, I keep closing the wrong thing. All right, New Jersey. Oh, this got to be bad. Senate committee passes multiple gun control bills May 22nd. Now let's just jump into this. So S102, a magazine and gun ban. So magazine ban greater than 10 rounds. I don't know which guns. They're just talking about magazines in here. All right, S160 would allow suspension of gun rights by unaccountable health professionals. So I don't know if that's doctor, nurse, EMT. I mean, I don't know what it's in quotes health professionals, but they would then be allowed to. Oh, bill goes as far to allow marriage counselors, social workers, and nurses to cause suspension. So that's just, I don't know, whatever. It is what it is. That's not good though. S2376. It basically that codifies New Jersey's justifiable need standard for issuing a concealed carry permit. So in New Jersey, they are may issue, which means that you have to have a justifiable need, and someone else decides if that's good enough or not for you. So it's not even that you're a bad guy or anything's wrong. They can just decide that you don't have a good enough reason. And most states that have that, if you just say, hey, I want it for self-defense just because, they say no. So that's not good that they're like doubling down on it. And then S2245 bans handgun ammo, which is already banned under federal law. Handgun ammo. So that's probably the armor piercing bill, which talked about, basically rounds that are designed for handgun use, and then they're normally bimetal, and they're either a mixture of or completely consisting of like titanium, depleted uranium, hardened steel, I think solid brass, and there's some other things. That's the stuff that's the bill that or the regulation that they used to try and get rid of M855, the green tip AR ammo, because they said, well, it's got a steel penetrator, even though mild steel is not listed in the original restriction. And secondly, it's completely designed for rounds designed for handgun. Well, since they say, well, people make AR handguns, therefore it counts, but I still don't think that should count. And they did the same thing with the AK ammo, which had the mild steel in the core. So New Jersey just wants to make a state level bill that does the same thing the federal one already does, which that just sucks because if we ever get rid of the federal level, then New Jersey's still screwed. So let's down to S2374, require background checks on all firearm transfers. And this is actually redundant because New Jersey already requires private transfers of long guns to have an FID card. And in order to get an FID card, you go through fingerprinting, background check, references, things like that. So I don't know if you already need one of those. Why would you have to have another background check? I don't get that. And then S26, or I'm sorry, 2465, prohibit purchasing firearm components to unlawfully manufacture a firearm without a serial number. This bill has not been heard in the assembly yet, so that one's just coming down the pipeline. But that's way too vague. You can't purchase firearm components, and the fact they say to unlawfully manufacture a firearm without a serial number, that makes me think that New Jersey already has something that basically says you can't build 80%ers, because otherwise, that you could lawfully create a handgun or create any firearm as long as it doesn't leave the state and you're not planning on selling it. But New Jersey, I'm guessing, being as anti-gun as they are, probably has something that you can't do that unless you have a serial number. All right, going to Ohio. This is also, it's May 23rd. House Committee advances pro-gun legislation to the floor. All right, so talk to your peoples if you're in Ohio and tell them to pass these pro-gun things. House Bill 228. Let's see, it's a self-defense legislation. Placing the burden of proof for self-defense claim on the prosecution. So as of right now, the burden of proof is on the defendant in order to claim self-defense. This would put the burden of proof on the prosecution, which I don't know. I paid attention back in high school in civics class when they said innocent till proven guilty. But anyways, then the bill also expands locations that a person has no duty to retreat. So it seems like it expands kind of a stand your ground thing, and then it ends up making it, I forget what they call it. If it's like an affirmative defense or something or positive defense, I don't know, whatever it is, it switches the burden of proof back over to the prosecutor where it should be to begin with. All right, going on May 30th, California. Senate passes legislation to raise firearm purchase age and expand gun rationing. So Assembly Bill 2382. Let's see. Oh, wait, that was something different. But anyway, I'll just do this one first. So 2382 is actually talking about firearm parts that are sold or transferred have to go through a licensed dealer. These parts would include things as barrels, magazines, upper receivers. That's all they list here. I would imagine it would, if they're going to do that, why not do handguards and gas blocks and bolt carrier groups and slides and anything else. But now you can't even buy parts without going through an FFL. That doesn't make any sense to me. It's like you already need to go through one for the receiver for the serialized number part. So why can't you just, if you want a new barrel on your AR, or you want a different slide for your Glock, you should be able to buy those and not have to go through a background check to get them. But then the one that I skipped over here was Senate Bill 1100 and Senate Joint Resolution 24. The first one, the Senate Bill 1100, would raise the age for long guns to 21. And then the other one would basically add long guns into the 1 gun a month thing that California already has. So they already have that for handguns, but long guns you used to be able to get as many as you wanted. This would basically change it to 1 firearm per month. Doesn't matter which one you're getting, you can only get 1 per month. Okay, over June 1st, Rhode Island, pair of gun bills heading to the governor. So we have S2492A. Let's see, we create broad gun ban powers under the guise of extreme risk protection order. So that's that no due process, take away your rights thing. And then S2292A would ban certain firearm accessories, impose $10,000 fine or 10-year prison sentence. Okay, what type of accessories? Come on. The fact they're talking about extremely broad language. I'm guessing that's bump stock, to be honest, just if I had to guess, but it doesn't say. It just says some firearm accessories, but I'm guessing it's a bump stock ban. Either way, they're both anti-gun bills, so and they're going to the governor. So watch out, Rhode Island. That was as of Friday. So I'm guessing it hasn't been signed yet, but it might be. But get on the phone this weekend, and hopefully they'll be flooded with messages Monday morning and decide not to sign them. All right. Let's see. Over in Washington, Seattle ordinance to make firearms unavailable for self-defense. So this is the mayor and the council member from Seattle proposed legislation to the city council. It would impose a one-size-fits-all method to storing firearms, as well as punish victims of theft, requiring them to report a lost or stolen firearm within 24 hours. All right, so yeah, the storage laws where the city is trying to tell people how to store their guns, and if they end up, not even if anything bad happens, just if it come to find out you didn't use the proper, what they consider the proper storing mechanism, it's talking about fines and jail time and all that stuff. So I don't know if Washington State has a preemption type thing, and if they could overturn a citywide thing. But anyways, if you're in Seattle or even if you're in Washington, again, you guys know the drill. Call your peoples. Let them know it's ridiculous. And over in Illinois, oh boy, let's see, registration of firearm surrender bill, go to the governor. And this also is it's from June 2nd, actually. So it's today. Every second matters. Senate Bill 337. Let's see, would direct state police to create an electronic transfer form for firearm transfers, which would basically be a registry. So you already have to go through stuff for firearm transfers, but they now are going to have an electronic database basically that catalogs all transfers, which again was basically a registry. And then Senate Bill, oh geez, there's a couple of them here. Senate Bill 3256 would expand the 72-hour wait period to all firearms. Okay, so as of right now, it's a 72-hour waiting period for handguns and only 24 hours for long guns. This would make everything for long guns or handguns be 72 hours, which we all know is freaking ridiculous. I don't understand what they're thinking. They try and claim it's a cool down period, this, that, or the other, but it's ridiculous. And House Bill 2354. Okay, and this is a protection order, so the no due process, take your guns away thing. I have to say, with all of the states doing very similar things, it kind of makes my job easier because I can just read the short description and be like, oh yeah, this is the same thing as those other states. We already know it's all bad. We already know what it's all about. Any old person decides, hey, this person's unsafe or whatever, bam, take your guns away. And then maybe sometime later, you might be able to prove yourself innocent, which again, as I learned in class back in the day, that's not how government's supposed to work. You're supposed to be innocent till proven guilty, but it is what it is. So that's actually it for this month. I was able to whip through that pretty quick. I didn't see any federal stuff, and just a handful of state level things. So if I miss some stuff, which is possible, please let me know down in the comments, or even better yet, head over to everysecondmatters.com, post a thing over there, either up on the main page or There is a group for the state level stuff. Every single state has its own category. Post link to articles, post, you know, voting results on certain bills or whatever, calls to action. Um, we got to keep up on this stuff. Doing it once a month, I think, is better than nothing. But even still, like the handful of stuff I read at the beginning, where it's like vote tomorrow, blah blah blah. Well, that was they're on the 9th, they're on the 10th, or whatever. It's like we kind of already missed our opportunity there. So please, everyone, keep an eye out on your own state. If you can do other states as well, that's awesome. And let everyone know if something's going on. Like I said, every second matters. Gunchannels.com, let people know. Also, check out the Early Watch Nation. There's a bunch of stuff on Instagram. They've been killing it. I probably should have went through and pulled all those up as well because they are on the ball. It's multiple people all doing different states, and basically they all start with Early Watch and then the abbreviation for the state. And so, follow them, stay up to date, repost them, comment, do whatever, and just, stay involved. That's what this is all about. It's all grassroots. We're all just volunteers. We're just trying to protect the Second Amendment in any way we can. And with that, basically, I'm going to drop out here. So hope everyone, stays vigilant and keeps in the loop and call your people, whatever level, city level, state level, federal level, whoever it is, write them emails, write them letters, call them, let them know if they're doing a good job. Let them know you think they're doing a good job and that, if they keep it up, you'll keep voting for them. And let them know if they're doing a bad job. And actually just thought of something else. If they're doing a bad job, say, listen, I like this one. Go like, I like the other stuff you do. I don't like this. Like, I would consider voting for you, but I'm not going to because of this. And even if you're lying, sometimes they might change their opinion a little bit if they think, oh, I'd actually get another voter out of this if I just changed my stance on the Second Amendment. Because the Second Amendment is not a right versus left, Democrat versus Republican type of thing. The Second Amendment should be for everybody. And I really want to live in a world where both sides are pro-gun and we get to vote based on other issues that we care about. But until then, I'm obviously on the side with the Second Amendment. But one last thing right before I go, the ATF is still accepting public comments on the bump stock reclassification. So I believe it's till actually the end of this month. I thought it was the beginning of June, but when I was there the other day leaving another comment, it was about last week. I think it was like June 20 something. So if you haven't left a comment already, you're slacking, get on it. If you've already left a comment, you can leave another one. You can leave, as many as you want. And so if you have certain points, like multiple issues with why they should not ban bump stocks, leave them all as separate comments, or put them all together. Obviously do whatever the heck you want. But I'm just going to reiterate my biggest problem with the reclassification is even in their own language, they call a bump stock a self-acting and self-regulating machine, which creates sustained rapid fire after one action of the trigger pull. And that's just not true. Because if you don't have your offhand adding pressure, like if you were to shoot a bump stock one-handed, it would be one trigger pull, one fire, and then it would just sit there. The gun would recoil back, it would slide back in the bump stock, and it would sit there. Because you personally are adding energy to pull the gun back forward. So I think even with their reclassification and they're reinterpreting the definition, which is not the original intent. Obviously, we all know the original intent was one action of the trigger, one bullet's fired. That counts as semi-auto. And bump stocks do not change that. The trigger is still acted upon every single time. But even in their own definition, calling it a self-acting and a self-regulating mechanism, it's not. You can't set a bump stock on the table and it starts shooting. It takes user input. And you decide how long you're firing the gun for. If you stop using your muscles, then it stops firing. It doesn't self-act. So anyways, I'm getting off my soapbox now. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll catch you again next month.